Welcome everyone, this is iJustRengar here today with a Rengar Jungle in 5 minutes guide. Today we'll be covering everything you need to know to become a good Rengar in just 5 minutes, so let's get right into it. Rengar is one of the hardest yet most rewarding champions to master, but he's also insanely fun when you learn how to use everything about him correctly. Rengar currently has some great win rates scaling with champion experience, starting off with a measly 48%, but quickly spiking up to over 56% when you've played just 50 or more games as Rengar. Rengar is a great champion to hard carry with in low elos, and, with enough experience, you can pull out some great plays in high elos as well. Currently, there's a lot of runes that Rengar can abuse and do well with, and so I'm going to list my 3 favorite pages for Jungle Rengar right here, my usual setup being the one in the middle. A lot of things are viable on Rengar right now, but these 3 pages are what I consider the best. Here's Rengar's skill order. You're going to want to start out by leveling Q, then W, then E, and then from there maxing in that same order, prioritizing Q, W, and then E, as well as your ultimate whenever that comes back up. Rengar's typical build would look like this: prioritizing Duskblade and skipping Warrior. You skip Warrior due to the insane amount of damage that Duskblade provides, as well as the even more ridiculous, yet never really considered, vision portion of the passive. Keep in mind this is very important as it can show if you're seen by the enemy at literally any point in the game, regardless of if it's up or not, just by checking if you're unseen, so make sure that you check often. After Duskblade, we build Youmuu's Ghostblade for the lethality and passive, and from here you can switch it up into a bunch of different items. Some of my favorites are Edge of Night, Black Cleaver, Last Whisper, Spirit Visage, and honestly even an Infinity Edge if it comes to that. A good Rengar combo will typically consist of a leap from the bush, using your E mid-jump in the direction the enemy is moving, followed by a W, then a Q, and finally your empowered ability of choice depending on the situation. Use of Rengar's bush mechanics, ferocity mechanics, and correct comboing is the true mark of an experienced Rengar. As Rengar before 6, you want to predict the enemy jungler's movements and be there to counter gank. Ganking as Rengar pre-6 can only really be done if the enemy laner is very far pushed up, or if you get off a lane gank. With this in mind, you should only be focusing on ganking either hyperextended lanes, lanes with CC on your side, lanes that you can gank through the lane bushes itself, and of course, counter ganks, which is what Rengar really excels at. As Rengar jungle, there are no real hard counters, and you learn most of the matchups over time. Be careful of early counter jungles while you're clearing though, because those can get you. As far as Rengar clears go, there are a couple that you can do, and a couple on my channel. The first one that I will typically do for blue side consists of starting your red, taking your raptors, and then invading the enemy's red, and hopefully taking them unaware. If you don't like this clear, and the risk that it entails, check out my level 4 at 3 minutes video, for a clear that works the same despite which side of the map you start on. If you're on the red side of the map, I like to take blue, Gromp, Wolves, Raptors, then red, smiting that, and finally taking Krugs, smiting that as well, because those two deal the most damage out of all the camps. This clears your full jungle and leaves you with more than enough time to do a lane gank top lane, a counter gank top lane, Scuttle Crab, or to even invade the enemy's topside jungle, or back, run to their bottom side, and then try to counter jungle either their chickens or their Krugs. Once Rengar gets his ultimate, he becomes a very, very scary kitty, and is capable of assassinating almost any squishy from 100 to 0. Your first 2 ultimates will determine how successful you'll be in the game, so use them wisely, and prioritize lanes based on CC, squishiness, and if the enemy laner is late game or early game, as ganking a late game champion to set them behind can severely hurt the enemy's chances of coming back later on, as well as ganking an early game champion and shutting them down can also hurt that even further. So far, we've mostly covered early games, so to move into the mid game, you need to start focusing as much as possible on securing objectives and shot calling your team after picking an enemy. You want to start trying to kill people not to get gold, but to secure objectives such as Dragon, Herald, or a turret. Your goal during mid game should be to farm or split when your ultimate is down, and play aggressive and fight when your ultimate is up, forcing as many plays to get objectives as you can, and grouping with your team to assassinate the priority target when your ultimate is up. Rengar's ultimate is the key to his kit, and in teamfights that aren't around bushes, he heavily requires it. An analogy that I like to use is that Rengar is a Caitlyn with 125 attack range. He deals a lot of damage, but he can't get on them. This is why appropriate use of your ultimate is necessary on Rengar. If you misuse it, you're useless for a good minute. This is also the reason why I recommended mid-game and late-game that you split push when your ultimate is down or farm, as grouping with the team is only a form of imaginary pressure since you can't do much. It's better to take one of the enemies away from the fight, that way it's a 4v4, since otherwise it'd be more like a 4.5 versus 5. Since Rengar's ultimate is so important, you need to use it to its maximum potential. Always try to make sure that you're either targeting the priority target or the person your ultimate grants a critical strike against, which is the closest person to you when you leap out of stealth. Pick your priority target based on the amount of damage they can do, the amount of armor they have, and the likelihood of you successfully one-shotting either of them or taking them out of the fight. Typically, your target will be the ADC or the mid laner. Some quick tips before we go. First, use Qs and auto attack reset. Second, abuse your bush passive to get an extra ferocity. Third, adapt your build based on the enemy's armor. If they're building a lot, consider an early Last Whisper. Fourth, practice in normals before ranked. Fifth, play aggressive. If you lose, learn from your mistakes and get back up and try again. All in all, Rengar is a high skill cap and hard to play assassin, but with practice, anyone can do it. You just have to work hard. He's incredibly rewarding, amazing to make plays with, and can practically be played at any role except mid. Although it's really troll, and you should only really do that in normals. Anyways guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video, and that's how to play jungle Rengar in 5 minutes.